Hello, hello, hello. Try to get in my comments there. Hello, everybody's in here. We'll get started here in just a second. Just trying to pull up my stuff. Hope everybody's doing all right. Just let me know if you can hear me. Hello. Let's go and talk about I think where we're at here. Let me see. I'm going to shoot for 30 minutes today because I have a bunch of filming to do. So shouldn't take too long, but welcome however long you can stay. We'll try to get as much of the class done as possible. Let me know if y'all can hear me, if there's any trouble with audio. What's up? How are they, Buster? My phone is going to try to go off. Like I said, I'm probably going to try to shoot for 30 minutes today as I'm filming and writing the new detective show that we'll be seeing coming out. Thank you, Buster. The detective show that's going to come out this week. Been trying to pour a lot into this one. So here in a second, let's see. I'll give everybody a couple, just about 5 minutes, and then I'll just go ahead and start. And then everybody can just, I may put this in the, thank you. And none of my mics or anything for last week. I couldn't get my camera to work. This week it was the mics were all funky on me. All right, so I'm gonna probably jump into this here. Let's see. So what we're doing here is, for those that wasn't here last week, we're gonna try to do this weekly. Right now we're doing the Hava and going over some of that stuff, and then we'll move on from the Hava to other stories and sagas. I'll probably put out a poll, most likely to see what we want to kind of cover, uh, because there's plenty of stuff to cover actually. So, uh, but we're gonna go over reciprocity, boundaries, and your enduring. I cannot speak today. Enduring reputation. Um, so, kind of how that goes. Buster, did you do your homework last week? The scanning doorways or whatnot? I caught myself doing it a couple times. Making sure I'm watching entrances and stuff like that. Um, Sorta, yeah, I got you. Yeah, I caught myself a couple times being lacking a little bit. But it's good to have this, these little conversations, because then maybe at some point it'll become a habit for all of us. I might be passing around knowledge, but that doesn't mean I'm perfect, and doesn't, nor am I going to claim that, So, um, but yeah, all right. Well, as long as you sort of did it, that's better than knowing doing it, not doing it at all. Anyway, the overall goal in the transformation of abstract um, concepts into actionable intelligence for the modern environments. Kind of why we're going over this. Everybody and their mama goes over. Yeah, well, see, those are doors. Those are doors. Online is just as much. I had people texting my phone wanting me to send them information a while ago, and I'm like, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't. If I don't know the number, typically I don't answer. But I'll also try to make these presentations, excuse me, available. Um, yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Um, with ADD, I can be kind of absent in the head sometimes. The body's kind of functioning, but I have these things called they call it ADD paralysis. I'll be sitting here writing or studying or whatever I'm doing, and then it'll just I'll go blank for a little while. It's getting better as I'm trying to you know pay attention to it more, but I understand that. Yeah. Um, what we'll try to do though is try to take some of this Havamal stuff and apply it to modern life, online, in person, whatever it may be. This session bridges the gap between the 13th century wisdom and 21st century strategic operations in your day to day life, focusing on mechanics and social capital with the defense cognitive reasoning. So, uh, kind of like the first little bit of it's kind of like analyzing guest host dynamics, the laws of hospitality, and alliance building, like what we're doing here. We're building alliances, right? And actually, how much strategic distance is actually in the Havamal between stanzas 34 and 52. As you'll notice, I won't use the tongue in the book as much because I'm not here to sell you that I am from the Norse Bronze Age. I know a little Old Norse. I don't know a lot. My grandma taught me a lot of my stuff in English, so but that's kind of what I do is kind of deconstruct the old language to the new language, and then we can apply all this to mental exhaustion and speaking rashly, like speaking too quick, managing our thoughts, but the thought between our head to our mouth, kind of sort of how that, so that's kind of how that goes. And then, we'll try to, before we leave, we'll try to apply some leadership ethics, translating Nordic wisdom into professional network audits and boundary management. We all need boundaries, right? You know what I'm saying? So, and I apply that to my work life. Is that I had to start cutting off work is when I walked in the door, because in my job something could happen in the parks right now, and my phone would go to ringing, and I had to get to the point where I'm not always available for that. Um, because I found myself getting burned out on that, is always being available, not having those boundaries. Um, so kind of bring it forward a little bit. Um, and Havamal stands at 23. An unwise man lies awake at night, worrying about everything in the morning, like what's going to happen tomorrow, what happened today. And then he's going to wake up exhausted. Kind of like here at home, even if me and my wife we get into a discussion or whatever, we try to make sure that the sun doesn't set on anger. Um, it works a lot. I'm not saying it's perfect. We all were. Yeah, yeah. Well, boundaries when it comes to negativity. I'll be honest with y'all, dude. I messed up and went like on social media today and yesterday, and I found myself getting angry because there was so much negativity out there. People were hating each other and all this stuff, and sometimes we have to have that boundary. Yeah, human hierarchies. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to say somebody's better than anybody else. Uh, I believe you can love who you want to love, or be who you want to be, but at the same time, you have to be able to push back on some negative speech. And if people aren't good for you, I think they call it toxic nowadays. Um, it'll bring your brain down. Uh, and that kind of goes back to the man who is never silent, speaks many a witless word. A glib tongue, unless guarded, often sings itself into harm. And that kind of goes off to, running your mouth recklessly, and I've been, as a Taurus, I am, I have to work on that quite often. It's not something that comes easy to me. Um, and that kind of goes into the tactical lesson of the practice cognitive discipline and tactical silence. Be silent when you need to be. Just don't shut up and don't say anything. That's common sense. But now, hey, I don't claim it's real. Haters gonna hate. Yeah, wipe the dust from our sandals and move to the next. Actually, yeah. I mean, haters are gonna hate. And the more that you don't don't feed into that, they get a little bit more angry and hate a little bit more. I stopped worrying about haters a long time ago. Now, as far as that's pretty spot on about the astrology part. I say Taurus just because it's stubborn and bullheaded, and I'm definitely stubborn and bullheaded. I don't necessarily follow the moon signs and all that. Yeah, no, the Norse teachings, we try. Mental rumination is the failure in resource management, wasting cognitive energy on strategic variables yields exhaustion without solutions. That kind of goes back to what you were saying. Oh no, this is an open forum. I love it when you guys engage. It keeps me from over talking sometimes. I think I'll jibber jabber, but no, I appreciate the feedback and talking to me. And like I said, this isn't an echo chamber, guys. You know, there's going to be things that I believe that you guys don't, and vice versa. Okay, well, welcome back. I've been this way since middle school. Well, before middle school, but I didn't really know what it was. My 30 years of heathen video on my channel kind of touches on that a little bit. And it's been more than 30 years, but who's counting? Um, but yeah, I've been that way pretty much my whole life. I was forced into church by neighbors and other family members, but I always went home back to grandma that was Norse. Um, and everybody talks this game about how the Norse converted, and I think a lot of people don't understand is that the Norse converted, but it was more business and transactional than it was anything else, because they talked about, our family stories would say that they would go to churches, but then they would come home and still honor, Odin and Thor and Freya, you know. Uh, so I don't do Norse community as far as social media. I'll go on there and listen, and then I just kind of get a headache. Like in person, I haven't had a whole lot of people that uh, I had some people that I thought were kind of Norse, but then I kind of like started reading the room a little bit, and it was more or less uh, cosplay for them, which is fine. It's at 3. I started at 3. Yeah, 3 p.m. Eastern. It's kind of where the slot is. But you're not far along. We're just on page 3. Awesome. No problem. Hey, you know what I say in that video this past week? It's just showing up, right? Um, Nobody's going to dock you for being a little late. So, and we're kind of going over like negativity and watching our tongue and all that. So as far as the Norse community and as a whole, that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to rebuild what before it got commercialized. I always tell my wife that we were Norse before it was cool. The same thing, basically. That's kind of and what a lot of people don't understand too is that in the Norse belief, it could go from house to house. No, but did you? We did. Me and Buster talked about it for a second because we had a new person here that wasn't here last week for it, but I asked Buster, and Buster was saying that he was kind of sort of doing it, but just online. If you want to share with us now your homework, hey, shoot, go for it. As you're typing, I'll still go over where we're at and all that good stuff. But a lot of our, what we're talking about in this week is basically the resource management of it all, and kind of clarifying what old tongue would have said, in today's standards. So, basically, kind of where I was getting is the unmeasured speech is strategic sabotage. Basically, you run your mouth reckless. You provide people with your weaknesses and strengths right out the gate. So best thing to do is just guard your speech. I'm not telling you not to talk to people. Just kind of mind your tongue. That's kind of where, And believe me, some days it's hard for me as a supervisor. It is real hard for me sometimes to mind my tongue, but I have to reset myself, take a good walk. I heard a good one once. A man is a master of what he keeps silent. Slave. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, it's like an old poker thing. You don't show your hand if you know what, I don't know a lot about poker. We played a lot of spades and stuff in my day, but poker, if you show your hands too early, everybody knows what's going on. But yes, that's the same concept. That's a good one. Very good one. You do master what you keep to yourself. And I don't like to I don't like to divulge my plans, so to speak, with people around me because, people put that bad energy on you. Yep. Very good words. Very good words. So where we're at slide four. Have them all 30 through 31. He seems wise who mocks a guest or scoffs at a stranger. He who mocks knows not how he's earned the enmity of men. Basically, a man should take. You shouldn't mock people for one. It creates a permanent strife and reveals lack of discipline. Um, Wit used to diminish others is tactical liability that turns potential allies into lifelong adversaries. Um, Now, let's take some of that into context. Like, if you say something to somebody and it just right out the gate hurts their feelings, I mean, they got weak feelings. That's why in my comments and stuff, I get, a barrage of comments of, whether it be Christian folk, Norse folk that believe that they know everything. I don't, you just got to take it in strife, man. But that goes back to the thing. It's gluttony strips and intellectual sharpness. A leader who arrives ravenous is consumed by physical need rather than strategic inquiry. Restraint consumption ensures the mind remains sharp. Do y'all get where that means? That means if you go out on the town, it's kind of that part where in the Havamal Odin is saying he doesn't drink too much. You need to keep a witful mind of you. We touched a little bit on that last week where you get a little tipsy. Do that at home. If you're gonna lay one out, you can get tipsy, but as long as you keep your mind focused. Uh, I typically I don't drink a lot anymore. I used to. My dad was a pretty bad alcoholic, so that kind of runs in my family, and I try not to drink as much as possible. That doesn't make me perfect. Um, Believe me, I got my own squabbles, and I don't claim to be better than anybody, and I don't claim to know more than anybody. And that's kind of where this is going, is that respect and social etiquette. And that's what makes you a leader, is being able to hold your tongue, hold and watch your tone, and don't give up what you know right away. Um, Christian setting it. Yes, well, um, yeah, yeah. So a lot of my direct supervisor, he is, I guess he was Southern Baptist, and I grew up around Southern Baptist people. And he asked me about, he was like, "So you don't believe da, da, da." And he was like, "Well, what do you believe?" And I'm like, "Well, I believe in good morals and being a good person." And I think that's kind of sort of what you're supposed to believe. But, um, you know, uh, some people, let me y'all get there. So right there's where I'm at. He seems wise, right? But you don't. They like to mock me, but they know now they don't because it doesn't bother me anymore. Um, but there is still this like electric every time they have these little meetings, these lunch meetings, and they want to do their lunch prayer. And he swears them down. He thinks that I'm going to call HR on him. And that's when I told him I'm steadfast in my beliefs. I don't need your guilt. I don't have, his guilt's on him. If he feels guilty about doing it, then maybe that's something he needs to, square with at home. He goes back to poise and restraint. If he feels like he needs to restrain himself, then so be it. But I'm not, I'm not going to HR because of, his beliefs are different than mine. That's something that they do, not me. I'm not doing that. So what is the economics of reciprocity here? And it's pretty much the foundations of alliance, right? If you're going to have an alliance, it's kind of like, gifts with, gift for a gift type deal. Exchange forms the bedrock of ancient and modern alliances. True friendship is maintained through a continuous cycle of mutual gladdened and support. So it's one of those things like if you notice that you're calling all the time and nobody's calling you, stop calling for a little while and you'll start to see real quick who's gonna call you. And then you start to notice if you're basically feeding a plant that's gonna die. So relationships have to be reciprocal to endure. And the Havamal warns against those who take without giving. And that drains the hearth resources, Identification and termination of unbalanced exchanges is a tactical necessity for long-term stability. And a lot of people believe in this Viking long wolf thing. And that wasn't a thing. The Vikings strived on community. And that's kind of like where it goes back to where I'm trying to do is build a community. You didn't want to be left out in the cold. And I have a video that hits on that one too. Somewhere. I can't remember the title of it, but because now my head's wrapped around the detective series that I'm doing. And I'm putting a lot of work in it, guys. I'm putting a lot of work into this thing. I'm doing an actual yeah, it is cold. It is very cold if you don't have a community. It could be very, very cold. But yeah, I'm doing a lot of collaborating with nobody else is going to be in it but me, but I'm talking to some people that are teaching me some more like filming TV shows. So I just don't want everything to me being a talking head at you guys, I want to show some entertainment, mix some things up, kind of like a Norse channel, except without a lot of the Hollywood fluff. I'm not going to make things up to have a show. A lot of my, hey, how you doing? Underachiever, you're 5 slides short. You're late, but it's okay. Like I said, you showed up. So for the notion of when does situational awareness become paranoia? I found that in relation to amount of distress. You got to kind of, I don't know, like me, I don't want to be overly paranoid too. I kind of get that. You don't want to be like so engulfed in like, is he got a knife or is he going to attack me? That's where you have to kind of measure that. But at the same time, you don't want to walk around reckless. We had people here in my town this week. A young man was just walking by and cold cocking them. You know. Yes, and like I said, I'm gonna in my beacons tab. I'm gonna try to put these on as like free, where y'all can pick them back up. Uh, what is your boss's view on a woman or on a feminine and masculine energy? I might have something for to settle this fear. He doesn't really talk about like. Um, I think now that he knows that I'm not, um, I guess I'm not on his team, so to speak. Um, a lot of those personal, um, he's a good guy. I don't want to say like he's a bad guy. He is just in that shroud. He has that shroud over his face where he doesn't let the world in. He has his own echo chamber that he stays in. Now, being a Southern Baptist, there may be some things that about feminine energies and stuff like that that he doesn't. He's very centric. I think he got let go from another place. I'm not sure over some female stuff. I don't know. I don't. There again, I don't ask. I kind of like go to work. I handle what I got to handle, and you know, I think you'll always have some kind of inkling of worry of HR. Um, I wouldn't have to use religion if I really wanted to do some of these people in. Yeah, but to go back to it, being observant and keeping your head on swivel, you have to cut it down a little bit to where it become before it becomes paranoia. But in this day and age, wouldn't a little paranoia help? I don't know. Uh, I see some stuff, man. I work in these city parks, man, and I see people on their best days, holidays, bad birthdays, and then I see them on the worst days. I have probably once or twice a year. I have to, people do things in parks, and I have to be the one that cleans it up. Um, but you also, like you said, like I was saying, you don't want to have a relationship that is parasitical. Um, where you're taking from somebody too much, or somebody you're allowing that person just to continue to take from you. Um, and sometimes, like I wrote in here, identification and termination of an unbalanced exchange is a tactical necessary. So sometimes you just got to cut them off. In your professional network, evaluate reciprocal value. Identify identify parasitical dreams and establish strategic distance. And I kind of guess that kind of goes into the paranoia. Um, if you keep a strategic distance, in your travels and daily life, then you become. Trying to say is that it is only paranoia if it causes distress. Yes, you're absolutely right. If it does start to cause you, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. If it does start that, then you're climbing down that road of paranoia. But I still err on the side of a little bit of paranoia, a touch of it, like a touch of tism. Um, and then strategic distance and hospitality limits. A guest must go not to stay forever in one place. Love grows cold if a man sits. So basically, we're talking about in the Hava Mall era that you're wearing out your welcome. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but I know like in the South, uh, my grandmother would always say, you're over at your friend's house all the time. You're gonna wear out your welcome. And it's kind of where she's talking about. And I remember some of the stuff that she's teaching me from the Hava Mall. You know, now at 50 years old, I'm like, wow, this woman was teaching me out of this book. And you know, I miss her greatly. I wish she was here. Well, she is here through me, but you guys know what I mean. The erosion of value. The Norse code of hospitality was sacred, but not. It was not infinite. And social intelligence requires recognizing the point of diminishing returns. Overstaying converts a guest from an honored asset into a domestic liability. Yeah, and that's I like that. I like them words right there. I like that. Y'all need to read some of these chats, man. They're everybody's laying that knowledge out. Um, let me get to where I'm at. Let me put y'all where I'm at. All right. So proximity breeds contempt. Familiarity, being familiar degrees of status. I can't talk today, guys. I don't know what it is. I'm having a brain fart. High value individuals conclude meetings, projects, and relationships while interest remains high. Leave when you're still wanted. It kind of goes back to go where you celebrate it, not where you tolerate it. Yeah. Scarcity maintains the perceived value of your presence. And my grandma did say that one. Scarcity maintains the perceived value of your presence. So if you're always, in the face, always available like I was, I had to get over that myself. Yes, it is. She used to tell me that all the time. And I still have to check myself. Scarcity maintains the perceived value of your presence. So, guys, that's the thing is you kind of, you give just a little. Yeah, no, I do. I had that happen to me. Me and my wife, being the good heathens that we are. Thought I was going to say Christians there, but there was a gentleman that was. I wouldn't say a gentleman. Anyway, he was playing for a football team here in town, and he was from California, and they were having some troubles with the apartment, and he had nowhere to go. Eventually, I just had to put him out. I took him to the bus station. I was like, man, if they ain't got your stuff, maybe you need to go home. And, it happens. If you're going to be a guest in somebody's house, yes, you best be doing something, cleaning, sweeping, doing something. Male, female, I don't care. When I go places, man, I'm offering to help carry stuff, cook, whatever I can, and maybe that's just because that's, how I was raised. Yes. Yes, scarcity. Grandma Pauline would always say that. She's like, always seem scarce, Drew. Always be valuable. And she says scarcity maintains the perceived value of your presence. So take that one, I try to take that one seriously. So we got these friends and foes, navigating intent. I'm sorry, it's going over my 30 minutes. I was trying to get this in. I like to jab my jaws. Reciprocal friendship in stanza 44 is proactive investment is the currency of alliance. True friendship requires the sharing of thoughts, which we're doing here, right? And I'm gonna hit on something here in a second. And the discipline of frequent visitation to maintain the bond. I plus scarcity to my work. Yes, I'll try. Yes, you're Buster. You're right. You're hitting it. You're hitting it right on the nail on the head there. And like I said, this building this and all that. Me and my wife are also, it's in the beginning stages of this, guys, but we're looking to try to make an East Coast like uh, Hoff or Temple um, for 501(c) and all that stuff. But that's that's why we're starting the online stuff now. But I'm also talking to some of the people in Iceland about how they uh, structured all their stuff. Yeah, process for this. Yeah. Um, you're right. You're absolutely right. All right. So I'm trying to. I got two different presentations over here. So mind sharing, active investment, and reciprocal presence. So I share my mind with you guys, right? And I'm taking an active investment um, in this community. I'm trying to build it. Um, I'm not gonna sit here. Okay, start. Yeah. Northwest. Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen them. I'm not gonna be competing with them. This is more or less just a side, like I guess a church, another church, you would say. It's like they do good. Yep, 503c. Yep. Um, they do, and I watch some of their stuff. He looks like he's a pretty solid dude. Him and his wife. Um, yeah, sharing of thoughts doesn't necessarily demanding requirement of sharing. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I could see that. Um, and then you have stanzas 45 through 46 is suspicious allies. Now I know you guys. Oh well, yeah. I thought they were like Indiana or something. Man, I'm way off. So they must be like Pacific Northwest or something. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. I'll keep my side in. No, I actually thought they were kind of like up north a little bit. I guess I didn't read into that good enough. So yeah, no, I'm all for it. Like I said, I don't, you know, I don't. I have all sorts of diplomacy. Idaho. Okay. All right. I thought Indiana, but okay, it's I. All right. Navigating certain waters with defensive diplomacy. Employ fair words as a tactical layer while guarding your true intent from those who lack proven loyalty. So basically, if they can't put their money where their mouth is, kind of thing, the constant. What are you thinking? What are you doing? Society wears. Yeah. I get that too. Yeah, I get it at work a lot. Like, what are you? You know, I got a sport bike at 50, and I get that every day. But you know, I could walk out the door and pass away. All right, so don't rush to be friends with people. And I know you guys are smart enough to know that by just reading your chats, but I'd feel it amiss of not putting that what the Havamal saying in 45 and 46. Is I like to call it professionally polite. Um, I'm professionally polite. Um, I'd say I'm a great friend, but I'm not friendly. And then allied friction is stanza 34. A true alliance reduces strategic friction. Distrustful paths are long and exhausting. A genuine friend is a shortcut to your objectives. You ever heard that uh, there's an old saying around here in the states. It's the pathway to hell was paved with good intentions. So, strangely, volunteering this information sharing gets them to stop asking or inquiring. Yeah. If you just flat out, like, I wasn't hiding my stuff from my coworkers, but if they ask, you know, I'll tell them real quick, like, uh, you know, when they have something going on at work, I'm like, you're in my thoughts. I don't, I don't just get in to fit in. Um, so if you have a true community, right, it reduces friction. Um, and also you can guard resources, and it gives a better roadmap, direct navigation to where you're going or where. Another saying I have, and you may hear it throughout time, is we're all just walking each other home. Whether it doesn't matter what you believe in, um, we're going somewhere, right? So we're all just walking each other home. Um, Let me get to the next one here. All right. See, I need like an assistant to click my slides for me. Immorality of reputation. The ultimate matrix. Der Frau. Deja Fron. I can't remember all that, how my grandma would say that. I've been taking my classes here lately, but it's cattlemen die, kinsmen die, the self dies, but the noble fame and your reputation will survive. Now, some people don't care what people think of them when they pass away, but to the north, you were your reputation, and your family benefited, and your uh, uh, oh, thank you, yes, sir. Um, like I said, I'm gonna, like, before I jump back into this, we are planning some stuff and all that. Um, uh, and we'll have some people from Iceland come over and do some blessings and stuff like that. But we're building it slowly in the background. We are regular people, and it's coming out of our, I'm not doing a grift like some other creators. Oh, this $50,000 and we can do this. No, I'm not going to do that. So it kind of goes back into the judgment of the dead. The Havamal shifts here from material being in pragmatics, and to the concept of reciprocal capital beyond death only. I think my grandma would say, Domar Dagen. Yeah, I try. I do. The enduring judgment of your character survives as a truly permanent legacy. And that kind of goes back to, the Norse. They believed that their family are going to benefit from who they were. And they did a lot. A lot of them did. Just by having somebody's name, even if they didn't even get along with them after years and years and years, if they had that name, it benefited them. So kind of like, you can care what people think about you or not. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really. But if you're going to have a community and you want people to benefit from what you're building, it's good to have that reputational capital. Yep. That's what I try to do here. I have a good reputation. I try to keep it. And then long after I'm gone, whoever's available, they can be, the urban Norseman then. Modern leadership and boundary applications. Professional boundary audits. So clear boundaries prevent burnout and preserve operational effectiveness. So, it goes back to that, you got to have those boundaries. Like I was carrying work home with me, and I had to set that boundary because I was getting burnt out. I got to where I didn't care about my work, and I just stepped back and realized, how important my work is to the Lamvetti and my ancestors, and you know, yeah, a good name is more precious. It is hard to build in modern times, but I believe that we have to try to keep moving forward. Um, it's very hard. It's not. Yeah, I've read a little bit of that where Solomon was talking about that. I have. Um, keep your boundaries where you need them. No, you're right. You're right. It is. It's very, very hard to judge people on the internet. I thought that I was helping somebody build a brand, and you know, he's making hundred thousands of dollars off of this stuff, and then all of a sudden, so yeah, I know it is. It's hard to judge, man. It really is. Then we have the strategic presence management, right? So scarcity creates value, like we were talking about before. Manage availability and and this will help you maintain your influence on the situation. Um, reputational investment. Choose long-term integrity. That's what I'm doing over short-term tactical advantages. I could easily be marketing all kinds of stuff, and spending all this time marketing, but I'm studying to make myself better so that I can build a community that does feel safe and have a place. Um, if somebody comes to me, I see it all the time, man, where people just want to tear people down. No, money isn't everything. It isn't. Um, uh, money is not everything. Um, if I could live back in the barter society, I would much rather do that. Judging is easy. People take too much. Yeah, discernment is the difficult one. The restraint of fire seems unnatural. Yes, I agree completely. I complete with that. Judging is very easy. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not gonna say I ain't never judged. Um, uh, I'm not. I'm not without. Where you know, have I can't sit here and say that. Yes, yeah. So like, you want your name to be remembered for the right reasons, exactly, and not because, yeah. I don't want to be Baby Billy. I don't know if any of you watched The Righteous Gemstones. Yes, that was a very good point. Very good point. See, I learned some stuff from you guys too. Yeah. Um, so we're down to the homework section. Um, try to audit 3 key relationships for balance and boundary reestablishment. Um, yeah, 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 very good point too. Um, so this week, as we're prepping for next week, um, think about these things. The stoic attitude, absolutely. Um, What is the modern workplace equivalent of sitting too long on another's bench? And how do you execute a strategic exit? That, so that's something to think about this week. You know, uh, if you're, not going to be at work this week, you're going to be doing something else. Like I won't be able, I got, we have some dog vet appointments at the end of this week, so I won't be at work a lot. But I'll be there enough to practice this, and I'm going to practice it myself so that I can come back and, say how I did it and how I made that strategic exit. It kind of forces me to think a little bit more, which I like that. I like that. So everybody says, "Oh, and it's a class for me too." Um, so next week we're going to try the trials of the heart, seduction, and intellectual focus. And we got a lot of that going on in this chat. There's a lot of intellectual focus at the moment, and I can appreciate all of that. Like I said, I'm going to be working on this my first 48 for the Norse world. I found a new entrance to the trail. Okay. All right. That's why something like just going to heaven or getting to some sort of paradise was actually inferior to dying. Yes, that right there, all of that. You would much rather, die with some honor, But yeah, it's gonna be kind of like my first 48 for the Norse world. So be a little entertainment. I'm hoping I'm going to reshoot some stuff I shot yesterday because I didn't like it. The color grading it and working out all that great. But and I will put these slides. I'll make a link and share you guys. I'm gonna try to put it in my beacons, if possible. That way you can go back over them in case I've read too fast or skipped over something. Yeah, very, very true. Very true. They are a lived practice and not something that somebody accurately went to the afterlife and returned to give us exactly what goes on. So it's best to live for those moments of, doing right here, But like I said, guys, I've taken up another hour of your time. I appreciate you guys being here. It means a lot. It really does. Sometimes I'm just flabbergasted that that you guys show up every time. But yeah, I'm gonna work on that. I got some other video. I'm gonna do like different I'm still gonna do some of the walking talks that I've been doing, but I also want to add different pillars, kind of like a channel, like a real channel, not like just a YouTube. I appreciate you. Like I said, I appreciate all of you. But like I'm doing, the plan is to have the different pillars within the channel. So you can have a little entertainment, learn something at the same time. You'll still get the walking talks, the little myth busting here and there. So it'll be a wide spread of things. Because I felt like, I don't want to be just another guy shouting stuff at you on the internet. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be, you got to do this. No. Try to be well-grounded. If somebody says, well, I don't think you're right. Well, okay. I'm not, I'm not going to be upset about it. But I appreciate it. Yeah. And we're going to try, like I said, I'm going to do this every week. unless something happens, and I can't be here. But I'm gonna let y'all know well in advance if I can. Um, uh, uh, I appreciate it, and I'm gonna most likely be here, unless something bad happens. Like I said, I already got the started typey on the third uh, Sunday school, and after we're done with the Hobble Mall, I'm gonna put a vote out on for you guys. All right, so look for all this stuff coming soon, and uh, turn chaos into resilience. Remember that, guys. And I'll see you soon.